My face currently feels like I've been run through by Tom Stewart.
Puts it to the top of the square. Oh, beautiful little fist in there by Dale. Crucial centimetre moments.
He definitely has a bit of the Belcho spirit. As I have a bit of the Belcho spirit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the podcast that operates at a functioning loss of $50 million a year, propped up by the AFL. For no benefit whatsoever. Don't worry about it. No benefit, just $50 million a year down the drain.
I'll be honest, I wish the AFL propped us up $50 million a year.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I would be a lot less critical of their actions.
My name is Jack. I'm joined, as always, by Alistair.
And this is
Welcome
The Back Pocket.
to the Back Pocket podcast. Once again, well, this week we're actually going to get it out before the first game. So
Yes.
That's an improvement on the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's not going to be out on Wednesday, but it will be out before the football starts.
If you want us to get this out on a regular Wednesday, give us money.
Yeah, absolutely. We have jobs and rent inspections and a dumb cat. And all of those things combine to make it hard. Also, I'm just tired. And
Yeah.
football is bad at the moment.
It's
so.
increasingly difficult to watch football games.
I was talking to people complaining about the AFLW quality, and I was like, have you watched the last month of men's football? And someone was like, well, what made it bad if not the scoring? And I was like, watching it and feeling it in my soul.
It's like
I've
2
barely
hours,
enjoyed
2 hours of absolute dribble.
Barely enjoyed watching a game for a month and a half.
And I thought about we should get a new T-shirt on the website that says, well, another disappointing week of football. I feel like we say it every single week.
It's been a bit like that. It was funny. I was watching some people talking today about, they can't understand tuning into rugby, and I was like, when I do tune in, I usually enjoy it. But if I only watched good games of football, I probably wouldn't think that the good games of rugby I watch are as good. But it's because I watch all of those terrible games of football that I can watch rugby like, oh, this is quite nice actually. So, anyway, as we speak, Queensland is smashing New South Wales in Origin again. So
Well, I mean, after a horrible week of football, you were watching the Matildas the other day, and I sat down for about 10 minutes and went, oh, I can't do this. It made me feel like even the bad games of AFL are a little bit better than most other sports, but Jesus, they're still bad.
I was getting mad at that game.
Well, I left and everything happened. So.
Yeah, you did. There was like 3 goals after you walked away.
4.
But I mean, also that game was a friendly. So
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a week of football. The games were
Terrible.
quickly run through them. North Bulldogs, which was fun until 3/4 time, and the Bulldogs went, wait a second, this is North. Carlton Collingwood, we'll skip over that one. West Coast, GWS, we can skip over that one. Essendon put up a good fight again against Gold Coast before getting brushed away, which seems to be the standard operandus, as their former captain would say, of their last couple of months. Geelong Richmond was exactly what you'd expect that game to be. Brisbane just kind of kept Port out of the game. Hawthorn did the same with St Kilda, and then we had 2 good games for the whole weekend, and they overlapped by an hour.
It was such a
Sydney
bad round of football.
Technically kept their season alive, and Adelaide pretty much kept a pretty firm grip on the top 4.
Top 4.
But yeah, everyone got 8 or 9 for the week.
Yeah. It was such a bad round of football that it made 3rd versus 14th look like a fucking rip snorter.
Yeah.
Adelaide played Melbourne, and there was almost no stakes in it outside of Adelaide getting their chance at a top 4 spot, and it was the best game of the round.
I think that, the reason those last 2 games were the best 2 games is that Sydney and Melbourne are far better than their ladder position
Yes,
suggests.
that's true.
Whereas the rest of the games were between teams that are pretty adequately represented by where they are on the ladder. Shall we jump into our votes for the week?
If you want to.
If you want,
I'm not fussed this week. We can leave them.
I can jump in. I actually had a hard time doing votes this week. Partly because the games were Dogslop, but also because I didn't
Dogslop's
think
good.
that many people stood out that much this weekend. Anyway,
There was a handful. I looked at all my votes, and when I got to giving one of them 4, I went, 4?
so I feel like we often do your team won by so much, it's hard to give you votes thing.
And that was every game this
Every
week.
game this weekend was like that?
Yes.
But anyway, I've got my 5, I guess, so who is your 1 this week?
My 1, and I ummed and ahed about a few people, but I'm giving it to Joel Jeffrey, who's
My
never had a
1
mention on this
is
podcast.
also to Joel Jeffrey, who I think is now going by Joel Sudar Jeffrey.
Yes,
but
but
I'm
he's
not
still
sure.
listed as Joel Jeffrey on the website.
Yeah,
So
some places it is, some places it isn't.
yeah.
Anyway.
So if we have said it incorrectly, someone please let us know.
Yeah. But anyway, he had 32 touches.
Yes.
8 of those were intercepts.
I've written down 19 kicks, but the way I've written it just says 19k, so...
I hope that's a lot of running. 8 intercepts, 10 marks, 3 intercepts. He had 3 spoils, 740 metres gained, so he might have run 19k. 6 score involvements, 2 were launches.
Yeah.
He got 7 coaches. The coaches' votes in that game were all over the place too.
Yeah.
But he got the most of them. 1 vote, Joel Jeffrey. Welcome to the
back pocket cannon.
Back pocket votes, guys. Cool. Who was your 2?
Zach Guthrie from the Geelong Football Club.
Zach Guthrie was my 3.
Yeah, I thought you might give him more than I did.
I watched that game in 2 parts. One was sitting in my car while it rained outside of Hands Oval, and the other part was when I got home and got to watch on a TV. I think he was close to Geelong's best, if not for the runners in the midfield. 25 at 92. He got 8 coaches' votes, had a 13.9 player rating, 509 metres gained, 9 score involvements in the back half. Really good game, Zach Guthrie.
I kind of ranked this bunch of picks between quality of the opposition.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say, but that's how I've done it.
I mean, if he did that against a good team, he would get 5 votes automatically.
Which brings me to your 2.
My 2 is to Tom Barras.
Tom Barras did not get a vote from me this week.
I thought he was really good. I thought a lot of the Hawks defenders were good.
Yeah.
He
had a really good first quarter, I remember.
Yeah, he didn't look like he needed the disability support pension for most of that game, unlike the last couple of weeks. Like, Hawthorn have been winning games, and I've been watching him run around and going, oh, that doesn't look like it's going to hold up. The good news then is Sarong and Frost are both fit now and ready to play. So if he does need a rest, they've got guys who can come in for him to give him a bit of a break.
They can afford to do much resting at the moment.
No, they've got a rough
They
fixture.
got a win-win-win.
But anyway, he had 13 disposals at 92. 9 of those were intercepts. He won both his one-on-ones, had 6 spoils and 3 rebounds, and I thought it was a good game from the first ever Scarlett Savani medal winner.
Yeah. It's a long time since, isn't it?
It is. His back has fallen apart in the years since then.
It happens.
Who was your 3?
My 3 is to Darcy Moore from the Collingwood Football Club.
Darcy Moore was a special mention for me this week.
Had a 16 rated game. He only had 13 disposals, but 10 of them were intercepts.
Yep.
4 marks, all of which were intercept marks.
Mm-hmm.
He won all 4 of his one-on-one contests, alongside 10 1%ers and 7 rebounds. Quality, especially with the fact that Frampton was out.
Yep.
That's probably one of his better games.
It was funny, we were talking about at the start of the year. We were his biggest defenders. He's playing really good football.
Yeah, he's really good.
My 4 this week? Mm-hmm. No, your 4.
Oh, my 4?
Rory
Lobb.
Guthrie. Rory Lobb, special mention for me. Again.
Yeah, I got Rory Lobb in. He had 15
really
disposals, 10 of them intercepts, 9 marks, 6 intercept marks. He only won 4 of his 6 contests, but that's still really good, alongside 12 1%ers. I'm still confused at why it works. I did not see at the start of this season Liam Jones being banished to the VFL and Rory Lobb being a reliable key. Yeah. But it's worked. I won't question it.
I do think Caulfield has to make way for one of Bustlinger or Jones, but Lobb is the guy.
Yep.
Easily. So,
yeah, and O'Donnell's been really good back down there too.
O'Donnell is just like a Aldi Sam Darcy in the back line.
Yes, we did bring that up the other day.
And obviously Darcy played his first half a season down back. He's just really good now.
It's good that they have Bustlinger in the wings, but it still confuses me to watch. But he's playing well, so I won't question it too much. He can enjoy his 4 votes from me this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I also enjoyed, this was 2 weeks ago now, but he's just carrying on wrestling with Francis.
Yeah, for no reason.
My 4 was to Luke Ryan this week.
You're big on the Luke Ryan train lately.
I am. It's really funny that he had that. He was the one that sparked that conversation about how we need to stop just looking for cheap kicks, and I feel like he's been a man of his word. I think he's playing more defensive football than he ever has, or at least since he was their only fullback. He had 21 disposals at 90, 5 of those were intercepts. He had 10 defensive half pressure acts, 6 score involvements and 2 spoils. I think he got 3 coaches votes as well. But I thought he played a really good game in a game that they desperately needed to win. And didn't, but he was a big part of why they were in that game, and I think it was one of those ones where had it gone for 5 minutes longer, I don't think Sydney could have held them off anymore. Freo were charging home, but Yeah, Ryan's good.
It brings us to 5. I'm
5.
assuming we voted for the same person.
Was that? Oh, you did your 4. Yeah, Stephen May 5.
No.
No.
Stephen May was my special mention this week. I dropped him
Who
out.
was your 5?
Wangan Miller.
He played midfield. He played on the wing.
He didn't have any CBAs.
Yeah, he didn't play halfback. He played on the wing. He was a full-time wing on the weekend.
Was he?
Yeah, but that's fine. I did look at him. Do you want to do what you've got your spiel for the Wang?
Bear with me 2 seconds. I swear I looked. I watched some of that game too. 74% defensive half. Look at that shit.
3 shots on goal.
Look at that shit.
3 shots on goal.
That doesn't mean... Okay, Colby McKercher
I
played
know.
fullback all the game and he kicked 2 goals. Does that make him a forward?
8 rebounds, 8 insides. He played wing.
Okay, all right,
6
whatever.
set-outs, attendances. You've written people off for less.
I didn't see that. I looked.
6 CBAs, 4 clearances.
All right, well, scratch his 5 then.
No,
put him
no,
in
he
the
can
bin.
have 5. He played a back defensive wing. We've done. It's fine.
Nah, put him in the bin.
Put him in the bin.
Yeah. Move Stephen May up to 1 vote and give 5 to
Slide
Lon.
them all up.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
I double checked. I went through it all earlier, but I must have just
we know what
missed.
the app's like. It could have just not been
I'd
there.
use the app and the fucking website because the AFL website is, as you said earlier, Dogslop.
Dogslop, yeah. Stephen May had 23 disposals, 7 intercepts, 12 marks, 4 intercepts, 9 rebound 50s, 1 his only one-on-one.
I thought, no, I'm taking my 1. I'm changing it. I think Disco Turner was better.
Disco Turner's my special mention for this week.
So
He
give
was
Disco Turner the 1.
sick. Okay, I can do that. All right, let's get messy.
Brian Myers plays forward. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I made a joke about that the other day. Someone was talking about Geelong being like the slowest team. They're the fastest team back half, fastest team back 50, and then one of the slower teams once they get into the forward half. And I was like, you could say that they scan the field.
Shut the fuck up. So just to clarify, I'm going Disco Turner 1,
Disco
Joel
Turner
Jeffrey
1.
2, Zach Guthrie 3, Darcy Moore 4, Rory Lobb 5.
Yeah, I'm going to figure that out later.
I can just send it to you.
Yeah. Anyway, Disco Turner was in my special mentions because he had 7 intercept marks on the weekend. It's funny how that they've put him down back where he played all of his VFL career and he looks good down back. People who maxed out this week in stats. Griffin Logue had 12 spoils. Ryan Angwin and Mark Keane had 12 intercepts each. Dan Turner had 7 intercept marks. A bunch of players had 4 contested defensive one-on-one neutralisations. Only 3 of them had no losses, and that was Mac Andrew, Jacob Blight, and Darcy Moore.
Mac Andrew also nutted someone's head.
He did. He really did some damage. And Liam Duggan had 14 rebounds.
Yeah, I looked at Duggan as well.
That's the all-round numbers for that. I think that's the first time we've ever binned a vote mid-pod.
Yeah, well, I genuinely went through everything earlier.
The only reason I know is that on 2 different episodes of the AFL Daily this week, they talked about him playing midfield.
I don't listen to fucking AFL
I know
Daily.
you don't, but I do on my little walk around the lap.
I listen to the Friday one when there's no demo.
I don't mind the...
When it's just the
I like the
WA
Wednesday
boys.
one as well because it's the whole group on. But yeah, I like the Friday one when it's WA and Queensland
Yeah.
yapping away. You got stocks up, stocks down this
I
week?
do have stocks up, stocks down.
Me too.
That's the one segment I
I
do.
rode them on the treadmill.
On the treadmill. Is the treadmill here? How are you going to read them out?
Yeah, well, you got to wait for it to spin. It's like a scroll.
You're reading it like it's the Star Wars opening
Yeah.
scroll.
Who was your stocks up?
My stocks up is Colby McKercher. I don't know if we did stocks up on him. You might have earlier,
I don't know.
but I'm buying in.
Yeah, no, he's looked...
His last 3 games, he had 29-2 against Carlton, 34 against Hawthorn, and 32-1 against the Bulldogs. So performing against higher teams in those last 2. There was a podcast where Nick Larkey, I think it was, said that they wouldn't trade that win away to get Harley Reid if they...
Yeah.
Because they won that game and they got Colby McKercher and they'd take him any day, and I can see it. He looks every part a pick 2.
Since Sheasel has moved to the midfield and forward line, McKercher has taken over that role in a totally different way. He gets a lot more hard ball, but he rebounds and creates play just as much. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
Big fan.
I was never off the Kirch train.
No, me neither.
But I think this is my official. I think he is really good.
Yeah, he always looked promising, but now it's he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get you. My stocks up this week is to Murphy Reed, who I know
Yeah,
you've
I
had
thought-
stocks in for a long time. Given the rising star,
Thought it was due.
if you're buying stocks, invest your super, your kids' school fees, your mortgage. I think he is going to be like that guy. Like
My
he
question
has,
is, where does he go from here? Is he going to stay a forward?
It's hard for Freo because he is a midfielder. Like he's meant, like
Yeah.
he's going to be. You can see it, right? Like there was a passage of play that almost won them the game on the weekend. It was just incredible. Like he got the ball on the wing, he got it over the top of his opponent, picked it back up, ran the boundary line,
Yeah.
somehow didn't get pushed out, and got Dudley shanked the kick when it got inside 50. But like he's so creative for such a young player. He clearly has a tank already, and that will only get better with time. He's strong and he's skilled. He has to be a midfielder, but they've got a midfield of Brayshaw, Sarong, and Young.
I think the question is, does
Young go back?
none of them?
But
None of
also
those
Bolton.
three can rotate forward.
No.
So they're already rotating Bolton into the midfield from the forward line. So it becomes did those two do 50-50 forward mid? But then you've got to have one of Young, Brayshaw, and Sarong missing at any point. You could possibly push Young to the wing.
Erasmus and O'Driscoll there too. Like it's a
O'Driscoll will play wing.
someone's got to go though. Like, I think there's going to be a crunch for positions.
Yeah, it's interesting, but that's sort of a future thing. I think he's fine where he is right now.
Back to Sydney.
Back to Winnipeg.
Back to Winnipeg. Who was your stocks down this week?
All right, this is a long one, so forgive me.
What if it's just a longer version of my one?
What have you said?
No, you go.
I've just said the AFL.
AFL House.
Okay, sweet, cool.
Mine was short. It's just AFL House and their constant dumb ideas to give us more games and more days of football and more changes that nobody wants.
Okay, that's a very summarised version of what I'm going to say. But I have said I was in bed this morning contemplating not getting out of bed for work, and I saw that there was the AFL Fan Association survey. I don't know if you've done that. I did it. And on page 3 or 4, there was a question that reads, in considering the changes to the AFL in the last 10 years, rate these changes that you like and the ones that you don't like. So I'm going to go through the list of
Oh
changes.
yeah. All right, let's go.
The sub-rule is fine in theory, but it is slightly problematic because why not just have a fifth on the bench? So I'm still giving that one a pass.
But then if we have a fifth on the bench,
I know
they'll want to
I know the
concussions up.
argument, but I'm still giving that one a pass. More lights and music at games. Don't put them together. Lights at games, good. Music after goals, I think of Fremantle every time and how much it makes me want to kill myself. The stand rule, dreadful. Introduction of Thursday night football every round, dreadful. The introduction of opening round, dreadful. Gather round,
Great.
good. There's a
Love
thumbs
gather
up
round.
there.
Want to go next year if I can.
Floating fixture is good in theory.
But they've given Carlton and Essendon 10 Friday night games on the run home.
They make the floating fixture a dog's breakfast. We know right now. We knew 6 weeks ago that Carlton and Essendon were not doing well.
Essendon's
Why do
got like
they keep
5
getting
guys on the
Thursday
park and
and
they're
Friday
like,
night games?
Friday.
It's insane. And it keeps going. The removal of free-to-air football on Saturday, and that is in part
That's the
because of
Thursday
Thursday
problem,
night. Terrible. Then one good thing, cashless venues. No problem with that. I don't have an issue with that at all. And then the last one they mentioned was score review technology, which is one of the
It
most
doesn't work.
controversial things in football.
I mean, there's the one on the weekend in the Melbourne
Yeah,
Adelaide game.
they just
that
didn't
was
rewind
clearly
long
touched. It was clearly touched. And then the one before it that they watched and they're like, yeah, that's touched, and just paid it. Anyway,
then I just, as I was reading through all of those, I was struggling to. Obviously, I put Gather Round as the one that I liked, but I was struggling to pick just one that I disliked. And then it made my mind wander to the fact that they want to do a wild card round, and they want to do an AFL Cup, and they want to introduce mid-season trading like immediately with no rules and instructions.
Wildcard round one was so funny to me because last year the reason we needed it was that 1st through 12th was all really
Yes.
close. And this year they need it because it's too boring that 10th is out already.
Yeah.
You just want a wildcard round, clearly.
Yeah. They'll come up with any argument
No
to try and
team
get
that's
it in.
finished 8th, I said this last week, no team that's finished 8th has ever won a prelim. Only one team that's finished 8th has made a prelim.
Yeah.
It's not important. We don't need 10th and 9th to make it. They're not going to do anything.
I mean,
It's
sure,
just
if
more
you
money
want
for the
something
AFL.
fun to happen during the bye round,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with them
Do
keeping.
State of Origin made up of the players who aren't playing finals.
Oof, yeah, State of Origin is one of those things that I just think
They're
straight
bringing
to
it back.
injuries.
They're
but,
bringing it back, baby. Somehow.
so thinking about all of that, I was just like, the whole upper brass of the AFL run the entire operation like they have fucking kangaroos loose in the top paddock, and it's almost at a breaking point where I just am about to stop caring about AFL entirely. There are so many little ticky-tack changes that do nothing to improve the game, and they'll trot Laura Kane out on a podcast to say, "Oh, it's the best it's ever been. It's the best that game's ever been." And I'm watching
next year
6 to 7 games a week, and I'm just like, "Why is this happening?"
Lyons and Harley coming out and saying the game's the best it's ever been, or it'll still be Laura. They'll just wheel her out.
They'll wheel her out because she's the full person.
Glass cliff, as they call it.
Seriously, it's frustrating,
I
and I know
follow
this is too
that
long,
note,
but
actually,
fuck 'em.
because I do have another AFL house, and you've mentioned the executives panel thing So there's a lot of AFLW chat this week because the AFL clearly is a smokescreen for the fact that they're not investing more money in the AFLW. It makes this much of a loss. When their own financial records say it makes $14 million less of a loss than they said it did on radio the other day, it's $36 million. They said 50.
Now you got to round up.
The AFL is a non-profit organisation. Any profits they make, of which they make a lot, need to be reinvested into the game.
Yeah.
We reinvest a lot in all of our other grassroots pathways. If we pay the women's footballers a living wage, one, more professional women will want to play football because it's an actual job that you can do as a career. And two, that's grassroots football. I'd rather see $50 million a year, which isn't even the number right now, invested into the AFLW than the $15 million we pay the executives alone every year to ruin the game. All they do is increase the bottom line. All they want to do is make more money for the AFL so they can pay themselves more and don't invest in the game at all.
The AFL men's game is so successful and financially sound that they should be using the profits from that to fund something like the AFLW. The more professional players you get, the better the games are.
I look at something like women's cricket in Australia.
Yes.
Where Cricket Australia really did bite the bullet and they said, we're going to put a lot of money into this. We're going to pay all of our international players more than a living wage. We're going to pay our Big Bash players a living wage.
Yeah.
And immediately Australia just became the best team in the world. And because of that, other teams have been scrambling to catch up. And women's cricket is really successful. Yeah. And it will continue to be.
The men in AFL practice, 10 months of the year?
Yeah.
And their skills are still terrible. So, like...
Well, that was one. So there's two. One, I think it was Sean from HPN said the other day, he's like, people complain about the women getting paid a living wage when there's AFL players who will never play.
Yeah.
Who get paid more than women.
Yeah.
AFL players who will spend their entire life playing at fucking Icon Park and Ballarat in front of crowds of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And they talk about the crowds for the women's games. VFL players don't see crowds.
No.
And those guys are getting $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't have both problems. And also, it's not your money. Who gives a shit? Like, they're not even paying tax. Let them invest in the women's game.
And it all comes down to the fact they expanded it too quickly,
right?
Yeah,
they absolutely did.
They got the brownie points for introducing it, and it was fine when it was... How many teams was it? Was it 6
it was
or
8
8?
and then 10.
8 and 10. And
10 was, I think, good.
Yeah, and it was easy to follow. The teams all played each other.
It had the two conferences, and they could have made it one league. They had the two conferences who played 5 games each, and then finals.
And it worked, and it was easy to watch, and that was probably when I was at my most invested in AFLW, and I've fallen off because the fixture is unbalanced.
I saw someone making a joke. They were like, did the expansion ruin the comp, or did your team just lose a bunch of their best players? And a bunch of people were like, both. Both is true.
As someone who supports one of the most rated teams in the comp, both.
I think Geelong were lucky in the sense that they were one of the last ones in,
yes.
so they didn't have the established talent to steal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like teams obviously got absolutely rated, and there's players who like obviously went to play at clubs that their dads played for, and they supported growing up, and that's fine. But it obviously had flow-on effects with the integrity of the comp to expand that quickly.
And it did feel silly watching the trade period and being like, oh yeah, this is the second year of AFLW and this player's already at their third club.
And we've talked about as well that like they've now only had like 5 years of full pathway flow. The men have had 150 years of full pathway flow. And they're not even, like, it's not even real full pathway flow because no one is aware that when they start playing football that it is a viable career option. Unless you are one of the top 5 players at any club, you're not going to be getting paid enough money to make it your job. So it's still not the same. Like, it's still not like they're going through the whole pathway with the knowledge it'll be their full-time job. It's just very frustrating, anyway.
And the other thing is, the most experienced AFLW players haven't even played 100 games.
No, and AFL men's players start reaching their peak around 100 games.
Like, obviously, they're also in a better system. So you're seeing players come through for their first year.
Yes.
like your McKerchers and your Reeds and your Dacosses and whatnot, and you'll see them perform really well because they're playing amongst
and also
really
if
experienced
you,
players.
Yeah, if you invested that much money in from a young age, like Dacos especially, the girls to go through academies and play alongside senior players and get elite, like world class training, you'd start seeing them come through at a lot higher standard too.
If at AFL level a team's most experienced player on their list had 93 games, we'd be looking at Mark Neal Melbourne era. It would not be good. So like they can only do so well with the resources that they have been provided. So it's a mess. AFL and AFL House.
I saw someone say recently, they were like, I'm not saying that they're sabotaging the AFLW, but I am saying that if I wanted to sabotage a league, this is exactly how I would run it. Also, the way that they keep pandering to the big clubs that are big AFL men's clubs, like giving the opener to Carlton and Collingwood, when of the top 8 women's teams, only 2 of them are Melbourne clubs, 3 of them are Victorian. You've got Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, all way bigger clubs than Collingwood or Carlton in the women's league, but they're getting they give these blockbusters to teams that are.
I think the attendance difference is so low that it's less annoying.
But they're still not the
but it
big
is.
clubs.
Yes, of
and
course.
also, like, based on last year's ladder performance, that's not going to be a good game.
No, it will not be. I can
Like, give it
guarantee you
to.
that straight
We
now.
saw 2 awesome games between Adelaide and North in the run home last year. Make that the opener, or make it a grand final rematch, or anything more interesting than just Carlton and Collingwood. Anyway, we can probably move off frustrations about the AFL and their handling of the W, but
do you want to go through tips for the week then?
Yeah,
because my tips are crazy again.
All right, yeah, okay.
So Thursday night tomorrow, Carlton versus Brisbane. I've obviously tipped Carlton because I'm loyal and I can't bring myself to tip
We'll be
against.
tipping Brisbane.
I can understand that. I'm tipping Gold Coast against Collingwood. I'm tipping Adelaide against the Bulldogs. Bulldogs have
Collingwood.
the worst top 8 record of all teams currently in the top 9.
Yeah, but I look at their games against Geelong and Collingwood and I go,
Would that Geelong game have been so close they didn't kick 18 red time goals?
no.
Yeah.
That's true. They did. They kicked 5 in the last 40 seconds.
Yeah. I'm tipping the Giants against Geelong. No offence, but that is something that they are notoriously good at doing. I'm tipping Richmond against Essendon. I'm tipping Freo against Hawthorn, and then all of my tips on Sunday is as expected. Melbourne over North, Sydney over St Kilda, Port over West Coast.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I've gone pretty much opposite you for the whole start of the week. I think Geelong GWS will be close, but much like you said about that Bulldogs game, if GWS didn't kick with insane accuracy against Geelong the first time, they probably lose that.
Sure.
They keep doing it.
They'll probably do it again.
They keep doing it. I think that, like I said, the Bulldogs are a better team than they've performed against the top 8, and also they've now got Bont and Darcy back. I don't disagree with you on Richmond and Essendon. Essendon's injuries are nuts. They're
debuting players that would normally be earning 100k to play
in front of Ballarat crowds of 1,000 people. Sometimes the Bulldogs men do that. Anyway, and then Freo Hawthorn. I'm tipping Freo as well. I think Hawthorn are favourites, but
I don't know.
I don't know either. And I think Freo, like, they lost a game to a pretty good Sydney side in Sydney just after a 6-game winning streak, and they're now playing back in Perth. So I'm on Freo for that. But hopefully a much better week of football this week. Like, at least there's some games that I go, oh, that could be good. And then we just watch them all be 40 points.
Oh, yeah. I can already see it, like, coming. We watched the first game, Carlton lose by, 60 points probably. Gold Coast don't perform and lose to Collingwood by 80.
And then Adelaide did 140 to Bulldogs 60 because the Bulldogs forgot to play for one.
And then one of the 2 teams out of Geelong and GWS don't show up.
At least historically that's unlikely. Like, the last 4 have been less than 7 points.
Richmond Essendon will probably be one of the closest to the round. Hawthorn might not show up, and then Sunday is a bit of a Dogslop Sunday.
It's funny that, like, Dogslop, that's got to be the name of the episode. Like, there's so much potential for Bulldogs, Freo to be dickheads like they can be. Like, both of those teams have that capacity.
The Bulldogs.
Huh?
Did you say Bulldogs?
Bulldogs and Freo.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, GWS just are Geelong's bogey team. So, like, those 3 games are genuinely no idea. But yeah, I'm more optimistic for this week of football.
We'll see.
So, at least, and also on Sunday when the Dogslop games are on, as you've said, we can go to PCAF and buy little art from people.
Fuck yeah, I forgot about PCAF.
I didn't. Who misses finals of the current top 9?
Sydney.
Top 9, not 10.
Who's not?
Fremantle.
Oh.
And I think they make finals.
Let me go to my ladder predictor. The one where I've put... Oh, you reckon it's GWS, don't you?
I do think it's GWS, yeah. Not that I don't think they'll win this weekend. I just think that they are the worst performed team of that bunch.
I have my ladder predictor.
If Gold Coast lose to Collingwood this week, though, very much could be them.
What is it? It's not showing me my ladder, it's just showing me my results. I hate this fucking app. I've said it before.
It sucks so much.
I think I have Fremantle as the one missing.
Yeah.
Not that I think they're bad. They're playing exceptionally good football, and they've had a really good... Have they won 6 in a row?
They just lost 1, but they won 6 in a row before. And then they lost by a goal.
So I'm not concerned about that. It's just how long can the brilliance of Luke Jackson...
like Bolton can pull out a quarter.
Yeah.
And things like that. So you're right, yeah.
But it's tough because I still have questions about Hawthorn, especially up forward, amongst other things. So I don't know.
It's funny. Like Hawthorn are the one ahead of that pack by a game, but they're just as big a chance to miss as those other 4
GWS
teams.
are flying under the radar a bit, so their game against Geelong will be a good litmus test.
It's a big tester, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's the Giants, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Hawthorn or Gold Coast either.
Yeah.
I'm big on Freo.
I just have Gold Coast penciled in because they've got that game in
Essendon
game in hand, which you expect them to win.
You do, yeah, and that's not an insult to Essendon. They are ruined with injuries.
Yes. Like half their list is
on a
season
similar
ending.
note, then, who is your top 4 seeding? We haven't done this since before the buys, so.
Okay. So unfortunately, I have to put. Are we doing 4 to 1 or 1 to 4?
1 to 4. Yeah.
Well, I'm putting Collingwood at 1.
Yep.
I don't think I can argue against that at the moment. I have Geelong at 2.
I have Brisbane at 2.
I have Brisbane at 3.
Yeah.
You are always pessimistic about Geelong, but
I've got my reasons for it, and I'll go to that in a second.
And 4th seeding is just impossible to pick.
It's the Bulldogs for me, purely, even though I know they're dickheads and Marvel, whatever.
Yeah.
Their best is so good.
I think making top 4 would be huge for them.
If they can make top 4, that's enormous.
I can't. The other teams I just can't justify. Adelaide, whilst I think their defence is really good and they've obviously got the 3 tools up forward, I think missing Rochelle is huge for them. I don't know about Hawthorn, like I said. Gold Coast, I don't think they'll be top 4, but they could possibly get a home final. I can't
seed them in the sense that I just think that their lack of experience will show them up come September.
But I feel like that's a couple of the teams here.
Yeah, Freo as well.
Yeah.
Even this Hawthorn team.
Yeah, Hawthorn, Gold Coast, really Adelaide, Freo. It really... History suggests that it makes the top 8 really like a 5 team.
What is interesting is I saw an article at the ABC today. If the ladder finished as it is currently, every team but North will have played finals since 2020.
That's crazy. It's just Gold Coast we're waiting on, right?
Gold Coast and Adelaide.
Oh, yeah, true, of course.
Because haven't made it since Power Stance. So the reason I've got Brisbane second is that I do think Geelong will finish second, just based on the draw and the run home. But I think that Brisbane clearly had a mental thing against Geelong for a long time. Where they're like losing close games, losing at home. They've lost that at all 3 venues. So they don't care about playing Geelong at the MCG, they don't care about playing them at the Gabba, and they don't plan on playing with Geelong anymore either. It will only be the MCG or the Gabba.
Oh, you reckon it's a week 1 Geelong, Brisbane win?
Yeah, I do. And I think that then you have to play Collingwood. And I think that it's weird because I think Geelong probably have a better chance of beating Collingwood than Brisbane do currently.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go the long way round.
Could be one of those weird seasons where the teams playing in the first week end up playing each other again in the grand final.
Yeah. So that's the only reason I've got Geelong below, is that I think Brisbane beat them currently.
I just think on damage, like obviously the Brisbane midfield is better. Like obviously Smith and Holmes are incredible, but it falls off after Atkins.
Neil, Dunkley, McCluggage.
It's insane, and I feel like Geelong's forward line is too good.
It's insane.
Obviously Shannon Neal is the weakest link. You can play through him. like Brisbane did.
Yeah.
So the
Andrews-
experience, especially come finals
That was
time.
like obviously we've talked about the accuracy in that game, but the difference in that game was the way Andrews dominated
Yeah.
Neil. Without that, if Geelong kicked normally, it's a much closer game. But Andrews just monstered him.
You find your weak link and you play through it. Like, for example, Collingwood on the weekend against Carlton could see that Harry O'Farrell was an undersized defender and use that as an exploit every time. So unless Shannon Neal becomes Tom Hawkins during finals, I feel like any team that plays Geelong will try and expose that, and it will only be teams like Brisbane and
People who
Collingwood
have a good enough, and like Neil has realistically surpassed my expectations this year.
Yes, you wanted him to kick 30, and I think he's on track, right?
Yeah, but I think he's done more. Like I expect him to kick 30 in like a old Nick Larkey, current Logan Morris of just like being at full forward, kicking goals in the easy games. But he's a real good link-up player, which was unexpected.
I feel like you underrate Logan Morris quite a bit.
I just don't think he's Nate Caddy. That's all. That's literally all it is. If Nate Caddy was playing for Brisbane, it would be insane. Mid-season comp's a bad idea. We've gone over that.
Yeah, terrible.
As a neutral, with no horse in the race now,
I have no horses.
who do you want to see win of the top 9?
None.
Or 10 if you want to count Sydney.
The
Who would you
least
prefer to win?
the least offensive to me, honestly, like Bulldogs won because I love Bont.
Yeah.
I love Treloar. I think Ed Richards is incredible. I really like Matt Kennedy. Like, I don't have an issue with anyone in that team, especially if, like,
I almost
someone
forgot
funny.
about the Dogs when I wrote this question, and it's such an obvious answer now that I've asked it.
It's funny because, like, you talk about premiership players that you go, they were a premiership player. I think Taylor Duray coming back and playing another premiership in 2025
That'd be really
would
good.
be insane. And then you look at, like, obviously the argument about Fraser being the best under 20 or 20 or under player. Him winning a flag in year 3 would be awesome. Brisbane are my second least offensive. I know obviously they have Dane Zorko and you're not a big fan. You also, for some reason, really hate Harris Andrews. But I think overall that team is quite inoffensive to me. And it becomes tough after that. It just becomes a case of who
Obviously
does the
you've
least
got
mental damage to me.
Family with Freo.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Freo win.
Freo's fine.
For
I don't
completely
have
other
anyone.
reasons.
There's no one on that list or coaching panel that annoys me enough to say I don't want it to happen.
I think the best thing about the Bulldogs is if Rory Lobb
Yeah.
won a flag. Because I said it a while ago that like it'd be really funny if, years ago you're looking at the Gubbo kids coming through, and it's not Nat Nui, it's not Jared Blight, it's Rory Lobb and Nathan Broad who win flags.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really funny. But also, I have an eternal soft spot for the Bulldogs. When I've been running through the list of accolades they're making at the moment, the amount of Bulldogs prelim finals over that run is so nuts.
Poor Brad Johnson. So if I'm ranking it, it's Bulldogs 1, Brisbane 2, and then I'm possibly throwing Fremantle 3, Gold Coast and GWS 4th, 5th.
Yep.
Geelong 6, Adelaide 7, Hawthorn 7, Adelaide 8, Collingwood 9.
You hate both those South Australian teams. It's really nice. I like it every time
I
you do.
fucking despise them.
It's really funny to me. Look, I'm not a fan either. I'm not defending them. It's just like I love that you hate them both.
I feel like if you're having a podcast where you're talking about the AFL in general, you should be like neutral and like try and not have those biases play out. But I fucking hate Adelaide
fully
so
capable
much.
of saying nice things about the teams that I hate. Right? Like my nightmare would be to once again have a Brisbane Collingwood grand final.
Well, that's probably what we're getting.
But it's probably what we're getting. Yeah. But like I'm very capable of respecting those teams from a objective standpoint. Despite when I watch the games, I'll think completely differently. And on that note, I mean, I don't know if it's even worth talking about, but the Voss stuff is insane.
Yes. I did want to use it as my stocks down, but I've been doing too much Carlton stuff there.
I made a post earlier today where I was like, we've both let football ruin our weekends. But there is a
Yeah.
level where, like, if you threaten a player, a coach, or an admin on your fucking team's Facebook page, that's when you need to, like, stop watching for a month. Like, you need to pull yourself away from football.
And it really
They're people doing their jobs.
it tarnishes like AFL fans and like the AFL in general. Like, and I don't mean to steal a term from American politics, but a handful of bad actors tagging up a club and making death threats, etc., really spoil the entire pot. There's 100,000 Carlton members at the moment, and I would say this very small vocal minority, including that fuckwit snapper on radio, probably makes up
We've
what?
Said this before,
5%.
The reason
less.
people think that clubs have bad fan bases is because they're the biggest clubs.
Yeah.
It just historically is how it goes, especially big Victorian clubs. It's very boiling pot over there. The funniest part of the stuff is that he apparently messaged from his personal phone. So the cops
I hope
found him.
that he gets fucking...
It should be a life
ban from the
venues.
AFL, but it's probably like bordering on
fine and prison.
Yeah.
Apparently it was very serious.
Also, dog shit from the did you see the journo that asked if Michael Voss's new dog was a support dog because he had a death threat?
It's
fucking pull your head in.
It is fucked up that he needs security at the moment, though.
Yes.
That is shithouse.
You should, as the coach of an AFL club, you should be able to go to the VFL game of your affiliated club and watch it without having to be escorted by security.
100%.
Michael Voss is
he also seems like the
most
nicest
successful Carlton coach in 20 years.
Brett Ratton. He's
win
more
rate,
successful than Brett Ratton.
more successful than Brett Ratton, and people are treating him like he's Dogslop.
A Dogslop.
And it's pathetic because the writing literally on the wall. The issue is
the board,
the head of football. Even as funny as the graffiti is, they said keep Voss.
Keep Voss. The
Which
graffiti
is the
wants Voss
correct.
in.
He's signed for another year. Give him that year with a refresh of assistants.
Friend of the show sentence
on?
to say out loud. Friend of the show, Dougie Fuckbag.
Shout out, Dougie. Hope you're doing all right.
Friend of the show, Dougie Fuckbag, wrote a really good Substack about why sacking Voss is the wrong idea. And I agree. We talked about it weeks ago.
Yeah.
Carlton do not need to sack another coach.
You can't have a coach every 3
years. They need
years.
to make change. They don't need to sack another coach. There is a level of other things you can do, whether it be players changing over, whether it be assistant coaches getting shipped out, whether it be the board changing over.
It could be head of coaching,
there
directors,
are so
etc.
many different other people that you can move out. The coach is the face of the club. It's who the boys get around. They often say in modern football that the main point of the coach is to get the players to play for him. The boys clearly love Voss. There's a lot obviously going wrong. I think that the best thing for anyone playing for Carlton right now is the end of the season. Yeah. I think that they need a refresh. They don't need to be playing. I think that they are so far in their own heads that they don't know what to do.
It's a hard one for me because I look at the VFL team and they're doing really well. They're outside of the 8. They're like a game out or whatever. But I'm seeing the progress in Ben and Lucas Campriali, in O'Farrell, who played this week, in players like Carroll and Cowan and Lemmy up forward. Skull O'Keefe is back this week. So, I'm seeing that go really well, and I'm seeing people complain about why aren't we putting the youngsters in the main squad. I reckon let them develop and gel.
What's the point of exposing them to the current, clearly, depressed culture that's in that league team? Yeah. We talk about winning culture is good culture. Yeah. It's clearly bad culture at the moment.
And you could possibly interchange some. I feel like with Akers coming out, the correct option was probably to bring in Binns. But they haven't done that. They've elected for...
we kind of talked about it, but Akers and Walsh on ice feels like the best thing to do.
Akers, Walsh, Mackay, obviously Elijah Hollands and Cottrell out for the season. That's most of the good runners. Kemp as well is a good
there's
link
a level
runner.
of it's just get them ready for next year. Yeah. Because they're we've seen the talent is there and the strategy works when it's not falling apart.
If you take the best 4 to 5 runners out of any squad and their general defender and make their 2 key forwards hobbled with injury for the whole season, most teams are going to fucking fail.
Damn, it's almost what we were saying about Sydney at the start of the year. And we were big fans of him prior to saying this, but Nick Newman being out of that team is among the biggest losses they've had this season.
And it's also a year loss of him... I don't want to say the word, but grooming or getting Lockie Cowan ready to take that spot.
Absolutely. And Doherty has been all over the shop. His confidence is gone. He's not the same player he was to take Newman's place. Yeah. Akers' shoulders are both fucked and his back is fucked. And
then you've got Harry Mackay concussions and knee, and then Charlie Curnow
but it's more the people who should be doing Newman's job to replace him also can't. Yeah. So it's a double fold.
And I mean, bless his heart, I think like he's become my favourite player. Like Ollie Hollands he's
come on in leaps and bounds.
Perennial trier.
All of my criticisms of him, we talked about this like 8 weeks ago, they are all gone. He's trying, man.
Yeah. I feel like if you slot Ollie Hollands right now into one of those top 4 sides, people would be talking about him like he's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
Speaking of
players who've slotted into a top 4 side and he's just getting plaudits. The boy I was desperate for Geelong to draft, George Stevens. It's so funny because, like, you remember me on draft night being he was the one that I wanted them to pick up late because I knew they didn't have many picks that year. And they got him, and then I spent 3 years going, oh shit, is he slow? And he came in, and like obviously all the caveats about it being against Richmond, but there's still Hopper, Taranto, and Prestia in that midfield.
3 of the slowest midfielders.
Oh, I agree, but like he still looked really good. Like
you don't get 14 score involvements without being a good footballer, like a decent footballer.
I think that it's one of those things where players who are highly skilled look better at AFL level because their teammates make them look better. His foot skills are
and that was immediately like El Hawley when he came in. And you could see those kicks and what he was pulling off compared to VFL. I didn't
think that Stevens had that kicking ability from watching VFL games, and his kicking was elite. Like the way he built up those forwards.
That's why I think you've got to give people their chance, which is why it's been so crazy in Geelong's past few years where they'll draft 7 players, not try one of them, and then delist them 2 years later.
Tell me about
Give them a chance.
Especially some of them that I've actually thought were good.
Yeah.
Not... what's his name? I've already forgotten it. Machadi.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, play Machadi. I'm like, please don't play Machadi.
Yeah.
Don't... Anyway.
Like, all of the time you spent playing a Parfitt type.
And poor Closey.
Yeah.
Now Stevens has jumped him as well.
Yeah.
He's one
but
like...
Closey's also showed that he could play at AFL.
That's what I mean. I wouldn't blame him for looking for another club. Like, he's clearly
go up with his...
good enough.
Go Gold Coast with his brother?
Barely getting the game now, isn't he?
I mean...
but like he's clearly good enough to play AFL level. Like if a team needs a 5th midfielder, he's there. The only one thing I had for you, the last question was, would you prefer to be a Brownlow medalist at a wooden spooner or a Norm Smith medalist in a losing side?
Oh, I think that I would be haunted every day about that losing grand final. I would take Brownlow medal at a spoon.
Yeah, I think so.
Like the Dom Sheed interview, obviously he's just retired, where he said he thinks about that goal every 5 minutes of his life.
Yeah.
If I was, like, I'm sure Nathan Buckley would.
Look, if he could have kept that up for the last quarter.
Yeah.
Do they win? Does Gary Ablett Senior kick another goal? And they win? Like,
it would be brutal thinking. Like, I think about the small conversations I've had with people late at night. I'm lying in bed and I remember something I said 15 years ago.
Yeah,
could you imagine
winning a Norm Smith and a losing?
No,
you're right. You are right.
I'm choosing the Brownlow
medal. The worst
medal.
is
because I can trot that out. I can fucking go on the circuit and have people pay $50 to come get something signed by me.
Stephen Milne, just like he does, he's like watching that ball bounce over and over again.
100, he would, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But it deserves.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that one, but yeah, it absolutely would just play out like that. Anyway, for 2 people who didn't have much to talk about, we talked for like normal episode length, as we do every week somehow.
Yeah, it just happens.
There was a lot to talk about this week, actually. A lot of Dogslop.
Most of it not game related.
Most of it Dogslop. But thank you once again for joining us on The Back Pocket. We'll be back next week with hopefully
good
positive
games.
Football news. Woo! And enjoy your weekends, however you spend them. It's cold everywhere in Australia right now, so
I'm going to go put my
stay
socks
dry.
on.
Bye.
Bye.